Hello, good morning-ish on the West Coast. It's still morning. And welcome. Good morning, Thanos. Thank you for popping in. I hope you are feeling a little better today. Let's see. Yep. So today is WIP Day, which is work in progress. I've got 4 pages that I have started on previous live streams and not finished. So I'm going to try to finish all of those today. My reference right there. So Friday for Valentine's Day, I worked on this Barbie page, got everything but Barbie. 2 weeks ago, worked on this, got everything but Galadriel. Many moons ago, right before we moved, I did a live stream. In August, I did a live stream with Chris Plastic. Got this far, but did not complete. And way back when, I got this far on this G.I. Joe page with Aaron the Toy Enhancer. So I'm going to just try to finish as much of this as I can today while we're live. So that these are finished and not sitting around waiting to be finished. And I'm going to actually start with Gadriel because, yeah, I did some Barbie Friday night after I finished the stream, so I am not going to do more Barbie. Well, I mean, I will, but I'm going to start here. So, anyway, how is everyone? It is Sunday the 15th, I think. No, the 16th, yeah. So, it has been quite the weekend. Anyway. So, yeah, I'm going to get started. And again, I'm just going to start here and work my way through as many of these as I can get. And I need music this morning. Let me know if it is too loud and too obnoxious. Well, that's good, Cobb. Congratulations. Yeah, don't die. That would stink. Hello, 3-Star Draw. And 3-Star Draw will be here with me next week. And we have a couple of pages he picked out. We've got some Masters of the Universe, some Care Bears. Oh gosh, and I'm blanking on... And G.I. Joe. Of course we've got some G.I. Joe. Alright, just get that music adjusted because my head is in a place where it's too quiet. Because again, I do not miss the sound of traffic right behind the apartment we used to live in, but it's so quiet where we are that it makes it go a little rougher. Oh, it's fine. Don't worry about it. I mean, Lawrence, Punk with Toys, was on one of my first guest streams, and he was still using regular Crayolas and was really impressed because he knew how to outline stuff. So, you'll be fine. Alright, so this is technically not the best reference photo for her from the cartoon. I got this more just so I can be inspired for the background of it. But she's blonde, and then a lot of this is like blue and white. So I'm just going to go with some different shades of blue. Because why not? And the 3 blues I'm going to use for her dress are True Blue, Caribbean Sea, and Blue Lake. And they're all pretty different. They have different qualities. So that'll help because I'm going to do the sleeves in one, do some shading with it. So hopefully this will all work out. And Kenzo doesn't appear to be here yet. Oh, there's Kenzo, just in time. Look, it's the olive jar. Because I finished another jar of olives recently. Yep, good to see you. Yeah, I did have to tell Lawrence not to make the crowns. I think that was him just trying to be funny. So, as he does. He tries a lot, and then about 45 to 50% of the time he's successful at it. So that's pretty good odds. Some people try it all the time and are just never funny. So at least he has a vague success rate. So I'm starting really light here with the blues. I'm going to try to get the same sort of ripply effect I got with the background. Even though technically the gown is not shimmery, and it wasn't shimmery even in the movie. I'm going to take a little artistic license and make her gown a little shimmery. Because at the end of the day, I'm the one who actually will be looking at this for however long it lasts. So. Yeah, just look it in here, and this is a Caribbean Sea, which is actually my favorite, one of my favorite blues right now. So. All right. It's a good first layer of blue. Oh, it shifted. There you go. Hello, Alex. Good morning. Lovely to see you today. Hope you are doing well. I'm going to go in with the true blue now, and I'm just going to, actually, I'm going to sharpen it because it's pretty dull. And for this, I want a little bit more of a tip. Just the tip. Yeah. It's funny, I have to do a little bit of traveling this weekend, which is why I don't have a guest today. Normally I want to try to do one Sunday without a guest, but with the travel stuff, I just wasn't sure if I would be back in time today. So that's why it's just me today. But I'm sure you will all survive. And next week it'll be a 3-star draw, and between the two of us, my accent is definitely, he has the draw, and mine will start coming out probably really quick. So I have that every time. If you've ever wondered what did I sound like back when I lived in the South, it'll you get to hear that next Sunday. Of course, I don't think 3-star is from Louisiana or Texas. I could be wrong. We'll talk about that when we get here. So mine is very depending on which part of the family I'm talking to. It's a little bit more Louisiana or a little bit more Texas. So we'll see where my accent ends up next week. I'm gonna guess more on the Texas side, but who knows? If we start talking about alligators, it might come out. Which is another word I have to say carefully, or the accent just kicks in. That music sounds too loud to me, so I'm going to turn it down just a little bit. There we go. I need to load some some of the music that I have purchased for use, and then some of the stuff I have for use of for background music, because the only thing StreamYard has that I can tolerate is this feeding ducks one that we've got right now, but even that after a while gets a little tedious. So, should try to remember that this week. Put it down on my list in a second. Okay. I have so much music that I could actually use. If there's a way to make a playlist, or I could just edit it into like one long sound file and just hit play. So we'll figure it out. Alright, and now we are going to use the blue light. This one has a little bit more violet than these other two blues, but that also again will help sort of give it a shimmery look as I sort of blend it all together in places, but not the whole thing. And this is the first time I'm using this one because I finished one of my blue lakes. It's not even in the nub bin. Speaking of nub bins, my ex-boyfriend's birthday is coming up soon. I just send him an envelope full of glitter. Just so he remembers. Yeah, those are literally the only two that don't drive me insane by the end of it. But at the same time, using them over and over, it does sort of get tedious. I need to just get used to how quiet it is here so that I don't constantly need the sound. But I assume that's going to take a while because I lived in the Portland metro area for almost 20 years. And I remember those first two. Well, I had moved from the Austin area, which is also for the most part pretty, you know, it has all the city noises. And I remember when I first moved to Portland, how noisy it seemed all the time. And we have been out of Portland and sort of in the country-ish since November. I think that was when we did the last bit of moving was mid-November. And I had finally gotten to the point where it doesn't, at night when it's time to go to bed, the quiet doesn't throw me. And I'm starting to finally sleep good without, sort of all the noise. But during the day when I'm sort of at my desk or right now talking to you guys on a live stream, it still throws me. So during the day when I'm at work, I can put on like YouTube videos and listen to stuff and put in music or whatever while I'm doing sort of paperwork and admin stuff or anything that doesn't require me talking on the phone. But I still need to get used to just the quiet. Like, there's nothing wrong with it just being quiet sometimes. It's a skill, I guess. Oh yeah, that's coming out very nice. I have to actually stop to see if things are coming together and either look at the screen to see what you guys are seeing, or get up and look through the camera, which is right there. It's one of those things where you're too close, you can't see the forest for the trees, as they say. That's kind of the same when I'm doing an effect like this. I can't tell if it's working this close. I have to sort of step back and look down or look up at the camera. I was doing a page last week and I thought it was just looked terrible. I was really mad about it. Because you spend 3 hours filming something and it looks bad. It's a lot of wasted time. And then I stood up and stepped back and looked at it from overhead, and I was like, it looked really good. It was just, it's like Monet. From far away, it's okay, but up close, it's a big old mess. Who is one of my favorite artists. I have a couple Monets. Well, prints. I don't have money like that. I don't actually have much money. We aren't poor, but we ain't rolling in it. So I have some really nice prints that I've acquired over the years. Monet. That was, I think, the first artist as a child that my art teacher was like, you would probably like these, and she was right. So I got to spend 2 or 3 weeks, basically, because when you're a kid like that, that's how you sort of learn art. Is she just had me copy and practice his, practice replicating his stuff for like a week or 2, and then I spent a week doing my own thing using the technique. So she is a really good teacher. She's probably the only teacher I have ever had that I still wish I could, ping and be like, hey, I tried to do this thing. I have stayed in touch with her daughter. Every so often I'll ping her daughter and just be like, hey, what would your mom think about this? And her daughter does art as well, so. Oh yeah, that's coming out nice. Hello, Rhea. Lovely to see you. Happy Sunday. Yeah, it's hit or miss. I've gotten better about not constantly having to have background noise, but I still have a long way to go. It is something I've been trying to work on. Because I do feel to a degree that it's to my detriment that I can't just be quiet sometimes. And so, I'm not pushing that. It's not like it's, like, the inability to have things quiet isn't in any way ruining my life or, holding me back from stuff I want to accomplish. So, but it would be a nice, skill to have, to just be able to sit and have it quiet. Before I moved, where I grew up was very country, like on a bayou. And I would just go, we had quite a bit of property where I grew up, and we had a couple old sheds and some old trailers. And I used to just grab a book or some comics or my Crystal Castle and some G.I. Joes or whatever, and go find like one of the sheds or one of the old trailers and just go sit in the quiet and play or read or draw or whatever it was. To the point where you heard any noise, it was like you thought it could potentially be like an alligator coming to eat you, or those guys from Deliverance. So, because while that is a stereotype, anytime you grow up in a rural area, there are always, what is it? My dad used to call them the backwater mutant monkey people. So, since we were backwater mutant monkey people, I think I can say that. But yeah, just go. It's so quiet. Like, I mean, there was a highway kind of close, but not that close, and it's like you would sometimes hear like the 18-wheelers coming into the passing the one road into the bayou. So I think it's all. I'm pretty sure that's all gone now. Most of it got wiped out in the hurricane. But that's what happens when you live on the Gulf of Mexico. Hurricane comes along and takes it all away. Exactly. Once you hear the banjo, it's like time to take a step back. It was that summer that my dad had bought me a crossbow because I watched this Linda Blair movie called Savage Streets, where she had a crossbow, and then of course Scarlett from G.I. Joe. So I did carry. There was one summer I carried that crossbow around with me, so I felt pretty safe and secure that summer. Wasn't a very good shot, but the nice thing about an arrow is like as long as you get close enough to like a person, they're usually going to back off. So all they need to think about is that arrow hitting them in the crotch or the eyeball, and they will probably run off. So I could have been a really good shot if I had practiced, but it was just more like, oh, Linda Blair and Scarlett have crossbows. I want a crossbow. And the one time I wanted to practice, my dad would not let me try to shoot an apple from the top of his head. I don't know why. I should get a crossbow again. That would be fun. I think they're illegal now, though, in most places. Or maybe it's just they're illegal to hunt with because it's an unfair advantage. I don't know, there was something for a while there, but it was after I had stopped going hunting with my uncles and my dad and my grandparents, so I don't know. Alright, let's see. Alright, the dress is looking pretty good. Let's put a little bit more. It's a little pale in here. Put a little bit more of this blue lake. And now to complete the effect of shimmeriness, let's go in and put a little bit of white paint here and there to sort of create a sparkle. Not a lot. Here we go. That works. Alright, skin and hair and her little headband. I really should have printed a better picture, but again, it was more about the vibe of it. I'm going to use eggshell for the first layer of her skin. She's pretty pale, so I'm not going to do a lot of shading on the skin. Just because apparently elves are the color of milk. I don't know, because I've never actually met an elf, so I don't know if that's accurate. Should ask Lord. That's the color of his people. Normally I would use like an orange, usually pumpkin orange to shade skin. For this, again, because she's pale, I'm going to actually use a blush pink. But I need to sharpen it because it is a dull. It's so dull my ex's sister wants to marry it. Good morning, Gadies. Lovely to see you, Andrew. That, right, that is one thing I have been actually trying to get on eBay, is I've been trying to find a Roger Rabbit coloring book that's in my price range, for mint uncolored. I found a couple that are pretty cheap, but they have a lot of colored pages, and it's like, based on the time and effort it takes to clean up pages, I would much rather just spend the extra money to get one that's never been colored in than the hours upon hours it takes to scan and then clean it up. So, but Jessica Rabbit is on my want list, so if anybody out there comes across an inexpensive, uncolored Roger Rabbit coloring book, holler at your girl so that we can figure it out, because that is on the want list. And checking, because I often, the last time I made a comment, oh, I'm looking for these books, they all popped up. One of them, I was at a yard sale, and lady had a stack of magazines and coloring books, and the two that I was looking for were in that stack, never been colored in. And she was only selling them for 25 cents each, so that was pretty exciting. I mean, they're more expensive, obviously, on eBay because collectors go to eBay. It's not like most of the, like outside of collectors, there's not really a market for old coloring books from the 70s and 80s. Let's see. A little bit darker with processed red for her lips, and then I'm going to use a little bit of it to do just a little bit of shading right there. I'll go in and blend it in a second. Give her a little bit of color around the boob. I'm just gonna go back in with the blush and blend it a little bit so it's not quite so streaky. Right, there we go. And then final touch, maybe some Deco Peach. Possibly, yeah. Hey, Todd. But good. Sleep is good. Everybody needs sleep. And especially in these colder months, it's good for you. With all the colds and flus and whatnot going around, rest is good for the body. Excellent. All right, there we go. Let me go back to the Caribbean Sea just for her eyeball. Yeah, terrible picture. I don't know why people know that like it's going to get better because it's not. All right, now for that hair. I'm going to go in with the eggshell for some of it, and then I'll do cream for the rest of it. She has very yellow in the cartoon, but I'm wanting to make that a little bit more of like an ashy blonde. So I'm going to use these not quite white, not quite yellow colors. And these are, I use cream for Barbie hair and She-Ra hair. So this would be pretty close to like a She-Ra or a Barbie formula, but not quite. She doesn't have, even in the movie, the way they bleed, well, I'm going to assume that's a wig that she is in the movie, the live action movie. And normally I would do like a brown, but because we got the dramatic lighting and she's an elf, I'm going to actually use some of the pink that I use for these darker skin highlights. Put a little bit of that in my hair. Yeah, it looks a little bit more like some of the light is reflecting off of her. And now I'm just going to go in with a little bit. Everything is so dull. I need to start sharpening when I'm finished at the end of the day. Oh, I lost that. There we go, but just the tip. again. All right. Let's see if that works. The chorus a little off center, which will sometimes cause breakage. Right. Alright, just yellow. And now I'm just gonna go back in with the cream and sort of smooth everything out. I'm just gonna use the blue lake for her drawstring for this river, whatever this is supposed to be. I assume it's a drawstring based on where it is. All right, and she is. Oh wait. A little bit of white in the eye. Yeah, right. Oh my goodness, I missed quite a bit. Let's see. I hope not. I'm over them. I mean, that's the thing, that they're all so bad anyway. Yeah, I also am sort of cutting back, especially new stuff. I'm going to focus on closing up my vintage collections and whatnot. But thank you. Yeah, please, if you have beef with these, I mean, like, I have not heard any of those rap battles be any good. Yeah, some of the people making them have valid reasons to be, you know, telling people off, but none of the rap battles have been any good. I mean, some of them are just downright terrible, and I can't even believe somebody thought that would do anything other than make them more of a laughing stock. But hey, what do I know? I'm just some bitch on the internet. All right, she's done. So let's move to the next page. So save the Joe for last. That one's going to need the most. Probably won't finish it today. But we are at 40 minutes, so I definitely think I can finish the Barbie and the Supergirl. So I'm going to, we'll start with the Supergirl. Because that one kind of needs the most, and the Barbie needs the least. And I can probably do that Barbie, and it's like 30 minutes of Barbie. So, and this might be a little bit more. So. Yeah, see, I have definitely watched those. I'm old. I've been watching YouTube since, like, back in the day. I also, when I lived in Austin, I had friends who did rap battles, so there's no way I would have got up on stage. I was not at a point in my life where I could have taken the roast of it all, but also just, unlike I know, unlike a lot of people on the internet as of late, that I can't rap, and I'm not even gonna try. But I'm used to good rap battles, so whenever people are like dropping their rap battle videos and they're bad, I'm just like, this is really bad. I don't know. It's just funny. It is just funny. And some of the people who have, sort of spent all this time making these bad raps literally should just be making content. Like, do I like everyone on the internet? God, no. Do I like everyone on YouTube? Definitely not. But it's just not worth, the effort and time it takes to do something like that. Make your content. Make what makes you happy. Make the content that is why you were on YouTube to begin with. So that's my takeaway. Take it or leave it. That's how I live my life. You will never see me doing a rap battle or trying to do some rap diss. I mean, maybe it's an extreme parody, but even then, I don't know. I just don't see the point. I say that, and then like 6 months from now, I'll drop a rap battle diss track. Because as soon as you never say never, that's when somebody's like, I will give you $1 million trillion if you do a rap battle video. And I'd be like, I'm in. So, but probably not. I don't know, it's weird. It's weird to me, and I think it's just, there are people who just need to get the rulers out and just measure things and settle it once and for all. So it sounds like that's really all that's really going on with some of those, is that people are insecure about things and they just need to get a ruler and figure it out. But again, what do I know? I'm just some bitch on the internet. And I think after today, this gray will be going into the Nebby box, because this one is pretty close to the end. Yeah, exactly. Like, therapy is good. Like, I go to therapy. I enjoy therapy. Therapy is good for me. There's a lot of stuff that probably would end up on the internet if I didn't go to therapy. Of course, I'm overdue. Technically, I didn't fire my therapist, but I kind of just fired my therapist. I had a really good one for a long time, and then he moved to Colorado, and he's not licensed to see patients in Oregon anymore. So I've been trying a new therapist, and he retired about 6 months, well, from Oregon, and he's seen patients there. But it's been about 6 months now, and I have gone through 4 different therapists, because it takes a while to find the right one. And sometimes you need the wrong one to find the right one. So. But I don't believe there's anyone who wouldn't, they can just go and complain. And they're paid to listen to it, unlike all of your friends who aren't paid to listen to you whine. What's interesting about this page is it's comic book art. It wasn't originally intended to be a coloring page. It is in one of the official DC Supergirl coloring books. I mean, it works well enough. But there's just, you know, some things that, some of the details that aren't there, like on this house, that would have been added through the coloring process based on how they do comic book coloring now. And so it makes it interesting to color some of these pages from books like that when it's trying to add in details that would have been achieved through the digital coloring process. Here we go. It's been so long since I started this. I'm trying to remember what all I wanted to do with it. So I'm just going to pick out a few of the little things while trying to remember. I mean, obviously I need to finish Supergirl herself, but it feels like I wanted to do more with the background before we get to her. But maybe not. This also looks pretty close to done. So. Yeah, it definitely does. But there are just some things that, like, there's that too. But there's also times where it's like, I mean, this could just be how messed up I am. But there are things that, like, you know, because a lot of us, you know, like, not everyone had the best parents or family or the best experiences growing up. So there are times where you're not good with, say, boundaries. And there are things definitely that you should be able to share and vent about to your friends. And there's other stuff where it's like nobody should have to put up with that. Like, yeah, and of course that's going to depend on your level of trauma in life. Some people have more trauma than others, and if you have too much trauma, then definitely you're going to want to, you know, not overly depend on your friends, for, you know, to come in and sort of figure it out for you. But I don't, and it could just be that I've encountered a lot of people with bad boundaries, but I have run into people who are just having the worst life, and it's like that, you know, like, want to vent about stuff where it's like, I can't help you with that. Like, for instance, I had a friend, who was going through some addiction recovery related to some really severe childhood trauma that she had gone through, and she would get really mad when I'd be like, you know, that's not something to talk to me about, because I don't know how to fix that. And you know, there's some things where sharing them can be I don't want to say triggering, but it's like, it can be traumatic if you're sharing certain types of trauma with people. And she would just get really mad because they'd be like, I can't help you with that, and I don't, like, you don't get to ruin my day, you know, in addition to yours. Because there's just some stuff that I can't help you with, and me listening to is not actually going to help you. Go talk to a therapist so you can work through that. So trying to talk around it based on, you know, sort of what you, because YouTube will sometimes not only demonetize stuff, but just not put it in feeds at all. And if they do that to your stuff enough time, like 1 or 2 videos, they'll just start not showing any of your videos. So I'm trying to talk around it, but like, and this is why people say things like unalive. But in this case, this person had some SA issues of a type of abuse in their childhood. And it was not something I needed to be helping them with. Yeah, so there are definitely limits. There are definitely things you should be able to talk to your friends about. I don't think that's one of them. Other people may feel differently, but I can't help you get over stuff like that. So, and most people aren't. Most of us aren't going to know how to help you with that. And those type of traumas, if you just sort of trauma dump on people, it actually makes you worse because it's not a productive way to work through severe trauma. But if you're having a bad day at work, or like your boss is an asshole, definitely that stuff you should be able to talk to your friends about. If you're having an identity crisis or like a midlife crisis or anything like that, probably, like there are definitely ways to talk to that about your friends, but there are times where it's going to get too deep for your friends to be able to actually help you. And for me, sometimes I just need to be checked. Like I need somebody who is third party, who has no stakes in the game, to tell me I'm being a bitch. Because sometimes when your friends tell you you're being a bitch, you're like, well, whatever, you're a bitch too. But usually when your therapist is like, well, that's a little out of line, then you can be like, yeah, okay, that's fair. Because they have no emotional stakes in it. I mean, other than, like you not coming back to them and them losing money, but at least where I am, almost all of the good therapists have waiting lists or aren't taking new patients right now. So it's a good time. But again, that also is because I live in an area where that's more readily available. Not everybody has access. So it is a little privileged of me to have that opinion. But in an ideal world, we would all have access to the therapist that we need. So yeah. Yeah, there's that too. There's some people who yeah, I hate when somebody does go, I don't know what to do, what should I do? And then you tell them and they're like, not gonna do it. Or it's like, well, I can't do that. And that's true, maybe you can, but like, don't tell me that if you're looking for suggestions and I give them to you, just say thanks. That's great. I'll consider that. Don't meet it with the negativity of I can't do that. Yeah, there's a big difference between I need you to listen to me and tell me, like I need help on how to fix this. And I think some people ask for, in both cases, ask for one but actually want the other. Ironically, this is a version of Supergirl that I was reading the first time I started going to therapy. I think this is the Matrix Linda Lee Danvers, where she was having all of the personality stuff happening. Because Matrix and Linda Danvers had merged. And it was very interesting. It's actually one of my favorite Supergirl runs. I mean, technically it's not Supergirl, but it's one of the more interesting ones. It was always too bad that when they brought back Kara Jor-El, that they didn't find a way to actually keep Linda Danvers and Matrix around as well. But that would have been DC trying to figure out how to write more superheroes that were women. I mean, they were still trying to figure out Power Girl at that point. And so, God forbid they have like 4 Supergirl type characters to work with. But they can figure out how to do like 70 Robins. So, there is that. That's why I have stopped. Other than like Star Wars comics and Wonder Woman, I don't really read much of anything else. I just kind of, you know, I've gotten really bored with the way comic books sort of have to like throw out all of the past continuity all the time and start from scratch and rewrite everything. And this one, it was like, you know, you're picking up issue 300 and there are 200 issues before this, and it's all pretty much the same story. I'm sort of tired of reboots and restarts, and like there's just no way once that you've done that too many. DC, for instance, has done that so many times at this point that I don't even know sort of what continuity is what. Even when I do read Wonder Woman, because it feels like that even is shifting, you know, from writer to writer. I remember at one point somebody said, "Oh, well, we're going to do that so that, you know, people don't feel sort of tied down when they're writing the 50 years of continuity." But it's like 50 years of continuity is part of why we like to read comic books. And like knowing that Supergirl and Wonder Woman and Superman are going to be Supergirl, Wonder Woman, and Superman. Yeah, there is that. That would have, yeah, I remember reading about his idea for that, and I think that would have been a really good book because Peter David really did a good job with Supergirl, and yeah, it's a complete mess. I will give that to him with, you know, like with Linda Danvers, he got Matrix, and he had to sort of make the ideal work. And he did, and he created a world where it's like we had Linda Danvers as Supergirl and Matrix. And it would have just been really nice if they would have let him. I mean, I know most people tend to prefer Power Girl as, you know, Earth 2 Supergirl, but I really liked the Atlantis era of Power Girl. I liked the idea of her not being related to Superman, but you know, like Superman, when they redid it, like he had met her and they thought maybe she was from Krypton and he was like her mentor, but it was like she was still her own character. And even though she was like the granddaughter of Orion, he was a small enough character that it didn't dilute her. It was just the problem is at that point everyone writing Power Girl kind of wanted her to be Superman's cousin again. Paul Cooperberg is the only writer who actually really truly embraced the Atlantean part of her, and he did a pretty good job, you know, for the time he had with her. I liked that era of DC Comics where they were trying to make everyone a little original, so that not everyone, you know, like instead of Dick Grayson being Robin forever, he gets to grow up and be Nightwing, and Aqualad becomes Tempest, and I know Donna Troy became Troy partly because of the Crisis and the mess they made of her continuity, but at the same time, I like the idea of them getting to grow up and being sort of their own characters. And it feels like some of that got lost. But at least we're not in the place where Tim Drake is called Drake. Because Drake is a bird, you guys. I mean, I assume that's why Marv Wolfman chose the name Tim Drake, was because Drake is a bird, but I don't think making it very literally his superhero name that way is, yeah, it just seems really dumb. Whoever came up with that needs to be taken out into the parking lot and pistol whipped and then sent back to his desk to think about what he's done with his life. Oh my God. Well, this one's going pretty quick, which is what I hoped for. Right? And then that's a problem, though. Thanos, like, that's the problem. Like, the whole reason they did Crisis originally was because the continuity had gotten unwieldy, and they wanted to sort of clean it up. And after Crisis, things were pretty good, and then they did, of course, 0 Hour, because, oh, we've got these mistakes. But the biggest mistakes from Crisis were Hawkman. And that was partly because, oh, we want to do Hawkman Year 1 and call it Hawk World. But then they were like, oh, well, let's just pretend these are the first Hawk people. So then they had to go and rewrite all of the Silver Age Hawkman stuff. And then they wanted to make the Justice Society go away because all these old heroes, that makes it look old. So yeah, it was just, I don't know, like Hawkman and even Power Girl, because they couldn't, nobody wanted to stick to the Atlantean thing. And then everyone kept trying to fix, finger quote, fix Donna Troy. And even that was made because, that mistake even technically happened because they decided when Perez reintroduced Wonder Woman, instead of having her show up at the same time as Superman and Batman, that she would be a brand new hero. So she's getting her start after Wonder Girl. You know, because again, it was like the Hawkman thing. Oh, we can, you know, make a big splash of it all. And it just sort of those little decisions where it was really seemed to be made almost to get headlines, I guess, or just to like push brand new books. It just long term made everything a little bit messier. And then instead of people just saying, okay, well, this is what it is, let's work with it, you've got people coming in trying to fix it all the time. And every time, you know, John Byrne did that whole thing where he decided, not only am I going to finger quote fix Donna Troy, but I'm also going to bring back the original Silver Age Wonder Girl, who was a magical avatar of Wonder Woman. And we're going to put that in there too. It was just like, and it was this thing, like there's this old thing from continuity I really like. Let me push it all in there. And then it becomes a bigger mess. But hey, he got to write 5 or 6 stories he really liked. But then he left really abruptly, so like he never got to properly really play any of that storyline out the way he wanted. So somebody else inherits it. They have to try to fix it. And they do, but then they don't. So they decide, oh, let's kill her off. But then everyone likes the character so much that they bring her back. And then, hey, we're doing another Crisis, so let's make the reason Donna Troy's origin is so messed up is tie it into the Crisis and make the fact her origin is messed up part of the Crisis. But then after Crisis, like, she's still a character that still has to fit in somewhere. So it just, I don't know. And then, of course, they do the New 52, and like, she's not there, but then she is there, and they introduce her as a new character. And again, she's sort of like this magical creation, and she's kind of bad, but she's not really bad. And then, oh no, she's been around for a while. Just nobody remembered. Rebirth. So, I don't know. I'm not even sure anymore where any of them fall, especially for Wonder Woman. And it's too bad because, you know, my Wonder Woman comic collection goes back to like my oldest physical single issue I have that's not like a reprint collection or something is issue 101. And I have pretty much every issue between 101 to like 132, and then from 132 to the New 52, I have every single issue. So it's just kind of frustrating. I mean, obviously those comics are so awesome and exciting, and I still enjoy them, but it'd be really nice to be reading a monthly Wonder Woman comic and enjoying it again. Anyway, now I'm whining to you guys instead of to my therapist. So I just broke my own rule. Which means I need to get to work on that rap battle. Alright. Hello, Chris. Oh, Bendis. And that's the problem. Bendis, like, sometimes gets good stuff and sometimes not so much. See, I'm all for the idea of multiple Wonder Girls. That's cool. I can deal with that. Right. There is that. It's cheaper without all of that. All right, and she's done. And Chris, you showed up just in time for me to finish that page I started with you. Excellent. And we did the hair obviously months ago, but I was really happy with how the hair came out. And so, and the skin and everything. So, anyway, she is done. Which means, let's move to the Barbie. And we're at 1 hour and 8 minutes in, so I will probably finish that, which means I will pick at this page, which starting the stream having 4 whips and being able to finish 2 out of the 4, it's pretty good. And if I can finish this one, that'll be great. If I don't finish that last one, we'll just do another one of these whip streams in a couple months when I have a couple more pages backed up. So anyway, it's Barbie time. So obviously Friday I did the stream for most of this, and we just have Barbie herself. Where is, so I made a card that had, there we are, I think. I did have a card that had what I wanted to do for her outfit. So let's see. Yep, there we go. I knew I had it. Alright, so for her dress and skirt, which I'm doing the belt, I'm going to assume it's one of the 80s elastic belt skirts. So we're going to do like lavender, so the purple colors here, and then the top is going to be pinks, which 80s Barbie, that's pretty common. Right, and then it was lavender or orchid. So I got orchid because that orchid replaced lavender. There is amethyst. And dark purple is also a nubby, so we might finish this one today. Or at least get it over to the nubby bin. Exactly. Oh my god, rap on a Moby beat and have a sample in there from a Phil Collins song, and it would like literally violate everything I hate about the world. It was funny whenever all the Phil Collins hate came up a few weeks ago on Punk's stream. I was just like, oh my god, finally. I feel seen. He's less offensive to me than Moby. I mean, like, I hate his music more than Moby because like people actually listen to Phil Collins. It's not like anyone actually listens to Moby. Speaking of rap battle, anyway, but it was just funny whenever the Phil Collins thing came up. I'm like, oh my god, finally, I've been heard. People feel my pain. I mean, my mom and dad liked Phil Collins. They had all of his CDs, and they believed that whole like urban legend about I can hear it coming feel it coming in the air tonight, where it's like he saw somebody like murder someone and then drown or whatever it was. Forget the exact urban legend. Back in the 80s, before you had the internet to Google stuff. But don't pay attention to the AI, because the AI Google results are often wrong. But before that, like, my parents actually believed that story. I remember them telling that to their friends. But I don't know. I don't like Phil Collins. He's got that one good song though. I will admit there is the one song I like. It's that Against All Odds song. That one is pretty good. Moby has nothing good. There are no good songs. But Phil Collins, I liked that one song. Even as a kid. Like, it wasn't that thing where it's like you re-listen to a song as an adult and you're like, oh, that's good. I like that one as a kid. And so pretty much, yeah. Right? Right? Oh my gosh. I was rewatching some old No Doubt videos. And I was just like, wow. Gwen Stefani's look very much as like hooker clown. That was never a look I wore. I was very much not about makeup at that stage in my life. But I had a friend who went all out with the big clown red lipsticks. She even had the little, what is it? Is it called a bendy? The little gem on her forehead. Like, she was full on Gwen Stefani, the thick black eyeliner. She didn't bleach her hair out like that, but she had the rest of it. It was just, I remember even back then thinking, oh, that's a look. I will say though, I do actually, there's definitely some No Doubt and Gwen Stefani music I still listen to. I do still unironically enjoy Holler Back Girl. I mean, it is a diss track to about Courtney Love, so. Gotta appreciate anyone who's willing to take a shot or two at Courtney Love. But she is messy. She will, she definitely will not keep quiet about stuff. That's why when people are like, oh, she's responsible for unaliving Kurt Cobain, it's like, she is so not. If she had actually done it, we would know, because she would have already accidentally tweeted it in one of her many ill-considered tweet fests. My personal feeling is Kurt Cobain was dealing with some very severe depression, and the situation with her didn't help. But I don't think she actually paid anyone, or I don't think she did. Like, that's just, it's a lot easier to believe that than somebody that we all mostly, I mean, some people don't like Nirvana, but I think for the most part, most of Gen X, you know, really sort of idolized Kurt Cobain. It's a lot easier to accept sort of a conspiracy theory than somebody who, from the outside, looks like he had everything going for him, not being able to overcome his depression. Which is really too bad, because, you know, he definitely had the resources that he could have, you know, but sometimes when you get that depressed, nothing gets through. So again, I get why people want to believe it was a conspiracy or whatever, but it just, and I've heard people say, oh, the police are covering it. It's like, Kurt Cobain was such, you know, Kurt Cobain and grunge did a lot of heavy lifting for rehabilitating Seattle's reputation. You know, before then they were known for the Green River Killer. So I think if there had been even a slightest bit of evidence suggesting anything, they would have been on that, because Kurt Cobain was good for rehabilitating their image, and that's the sort of case that if you win that and prove that and send an evil criminal away who killed the voice of a generation, it's going to only be good for you politically. So I get why people want to believe it. I get that I've watched all the documentaries that claim to have proof, and it's all just so, you know, it's proof when proof doesn't have to actually line up in a real way with evidence and go to a court of law or reasonable doubt. I guess I studied serial killers. I know, go figure. And there are so many theories about, like, say, Jack the Ripper, the Zodiac Killer. And a lot of the people who do the investigations into these things, they will find a suspect they like and will go out of their way to find all of the ways that, oh, well, you know, he was in this part of California that week when this thing happened, but it's more of a thing where they're trying to make their suspect fit rather than letting the evidence lead them to the suspect. And it's kind of like that with the Kurt Cobain thing, where it's like they're finding evidence that proves it because that's what they're looking for, and most of it is coincidental or circumstantial. It doesn't actually stand up when you scrutinize it the way evidence has to be scrutinized to prove in court. And so, anyway. Hello, welcome. Thank you for popping in. Yeah, it was really good. It's just, you know, like, the actual evidence about her doing what they're saying she did, just, that doesn't hold up. If it did, again, she would have been arrested a long time ago. So, again, I don't think she helped the situation. I think there's certainly an argument to be made for maybe she drove him to things, but I don't think, you know, she probably made him feel very much alone and even much more despair, but that's not, unfortunately, that's not the same as hiring somebody or doing it yourself. Uh-oh. I just had a cat thump my door. Oh, but we're only at 1 hour and 20, so I'm not sure why the cat is getting impatient. Alright, there we go. Our skirt is done. Let's see. Yeah, probably. I would one of the few true crime shows I still listen to / watch. And they are on they're a podcast, but they also do put their stuff up on YouTube. It's called Trace Evidence. I quite like it, and the guy who does it does a lot of real research. He does offer his theories and his ideas, but he always says, this is what my thought is. He never tries to push it as, oh, I know the answer or whatever. But he does really good at it. Like, he researches, and he'll often debunk bad theories. He's never done anything sort of, I think he might actually have a Kurt Cobain episode, now that I think about it. I didn't listen to that one because I just don't listen to any of that anymore because it's like, it's exhausting. You know, especially on YouTube, it's like, even if you watch a video that's well made about certain topics, the comment section you're not going to be able to avoid. And the comment section sometimes are just the worst on these types of videos. I've gotten to the point where I don't even go into any comment sections if I can avoid it, because it's just always the worst people. I say that even though I am sometimes the worst people in comments. I will admit to that. Yeah, exactly. I think some of it is like, if I go in the comment section, I try to be constructive. There are some people who just go in there to be idiots. And that's frustrating. You hate to see it, but yeah, there are times though where it's like people are in the comment section, they're just out of pocket, spewing nonsense. But, you know, whatever. It's easy to avoid on your good days. It's sort of the bad days where we should all be better about avoiding the comment sections. Let's see this. I will say though, I don't have the same issues with chat sections. I will jump in chat usually. I have a higher threshold for people who are jerks in the chat. I don't know why that is. I've been trying to figure that out for myself the last few weeks, because people will say some out of pocket shit in a comments and chat, like on a live stream or whatever, and it's a lot easier to, you know, sort of let it go than it is when it's in a comment section. And I'm trying to figure out what it says about me, that when somebody when a comment is just like sitting there in a comment section, why that annoys me more than when it scrolls by in a chat. Like, I have a lot easier of a time in a chat of going, oh, this person, you know, like, oh, they phrased that weird, or whatever, that person's a jerk, who cares, than it is when I see people acting like that in comments. I don't know. Maybe it's because it just sits there. Like, I had somebody leave a comment on a video a few weeks back. It wasn't about me, but it was a sort of snotty comment about, how should I phrase this? Basically, like, it was somebody who had some feelings about Star Wars. And I'm a huge Star Wars fan. I like Star Wars. If there's Star Wars I don't like, I just don't dwell on it or talk about it. And somebody just left a really shit comment about Star Wars stuff, and I just deleted it. I was like, I'm not going to engage with it. You don't get to sit there. Your comment can just go the hell away. Because I didn't feel like it was even an attempt to have, you know, there are ways if you don't like a certain thing about things that you can have an actual discussion about it, but I don't know. Some people have opinions that are based on shit they make up in their head, and I don't have time for that. Like, go watch Clownfish or whatever. They have all the time in the world for you making up shit to get upset about. But yeah, I just deleted it. I was like, I'm not going to feed into it. I'm not going to share it. I'm not going to be like, hey, let's go make fun of this or whatever. I was just like, I'm just going to delete it. They've already gotten way too much time from me today that I could be making content or planning content or sending people reels. There are a lot of fun reels out in the world that I could be sending y'all, rather than worrying about some dipshit on the internet. So, for everyone here in chat who gets reels from me from time to time, just rest assured you're helping me not engage with idiots on the internet. I mean, technically the argument could be made that we're the idiots, but that's different. I like you. If I send you a reel, it means I think you're decent. And if I don't send you a reel, it probably means that we don't follow each other on Instagram, or you haven't ever sent me a reel. So, if you hear talk of reels and feel left out, just send me one so I know that you're down. Because I will not send them to you if I don't think you're, you know, not everyone watches reels. So. Right. I saw that on your video yesterday, Andrew, and I loved it. Yep. I love that you referred to them as the goblins. That's okay. Whatever you do in the privacy of your own home, be it listen to Moby, is fine. I you know, like, live your life. Live your best life. Yeah, I think that's part of it. Also, you can see in chat whenever somebody actually drops something that's shitty, that people actually will call them on it, and it doesn't feel like it's just you having to deal with the comment. There we go. Okay, we're caught up. Yeah, I think that's... Thank you for helping me. I'll send you some reels as payment for the emotional labor you just helped me with through Star. It's very helpful. I'll be able to talk about my childhood in therapy next week instead of the comment section, so thanks. Because that might be a lot for the new therapist I'll be going to next time. Yeah, we need to talk about my childhood trauma and the comment section. What the fuck is happening there? That is probably a whole phenomena a lot of sort of older therapists are probably having to learn about, because one of the people I have gone to since my guy left for Colorado, one of them, he was super old, came really well recommended, but super old, and it really felt like trying to explain to your grandpa on what Instagram and what YouTube, and it's like, sir, I am super old. Both of my grandfathers are dead, and if they weren't, they would be like almost 100 now. Like, I don't have anything I need to work through with either of my grandfathers, so I'm not gonna sit here and explain a comment section to you. But that was weird. It was a weird feeling to try to explain to that old man. Super nice, just obviously not a good fit for what my needs were. Yeah, well, actually, people are the worst. And I think what sort of adds to it, though, is from time to time, the well, actually, people are not right. Usually they're not right, or they're misinformed, or they've watched one video and they think it, and it tends, the only times I've gotten well, actually, in real life, it's whenever, like one time it was somebody I had trained on the job and they were trying to well actually me about why we did something, and they're like, this is how we've always done. And I'm like, that's not how I trained you on that. And then they sort of tried to backtrack a little bit, but it's like, no, I'm pretty sure you made that up. And if you just do it the right way, the way I showed you, it will probably work. And another time was also at work where some dude was like, well, this is why we do it. And again, it was a policy I had come up with. And I was like, no, that's not why we do it. And he did the well, actually. I did get to reverse him with the well, actually back. And even was later after the meeting was like, forwarded him the original email I had sent out before he worked for us, explaining the new policy and what was going into it. I feel like that dude probably does CrossFit now. Probably CrossFit, and he's probably on his third divorce. I'm surprised I never dated him. He had all of the attributes I looked for in people back then. Miserable, shitty, terrible person. Her eye was bothering me for some reason, so we're gonna fix the eye right away. That's the only thing I sort of dislike about this particular 1983 Barbie coloring book is they all have dead eyes in them. Like the art is just dead-eyed all of them. And there's some Barbie books where it's like the art is really pretty good. And this is good art, but it's just like everyone has the dead eyes in them. It was a little too the artist on this one tried a little too much to make them look like the actual dolls, and it just that's easy enough to fix with something as simple as giving them proper pupils and the little white spot. and then, doing shading to give them some, dimension to their faces. But yeah, it was just bothering me looking at her dead eye there. They're always dating somebody's ex. They always get somebody else's trash. That's often me, Andrew. So thank you. I've gotten a lot better about all of that now, though, thanks to the Toy Geeks and doing all the research. Because there's some stuff for some of these toy lines, we'll keep it to toy lines, that I've heard all these years and been doing the research. I'm like, oh, that's not quite right. But the research where I determined that it's not quite right is some really weird, obscure thing. Like, for instance, and thank you, Andrew, again. When I was researching Inhumanoids, there were a few things that were even in the Secret Galaxy video, or weren't in the Secret Galaxy video, that I only found because Andrew had directed me to Facebook, where one of the designers from Inhumanoids has a page, and he talks about it, and he shares some of the old sketches and whatnot. So for a really long time, sort of the story of Inhumanoids is, oh, well, it was developed, sort of by these Marvel writers, blah, blah, blah. And then, and that's just sort of been the story. But because of Andrew directing me to all this posts, what I've been able to determine is that Hasbro came up with designs and sort of a basic concept, and then gave all of that to the writers and the Marvel people, and then let them run with that. But like, all the names for stuff and all of the actual character designs were actually from Hasbro. But the full actual story as it was developed by the writers. So, it's sort of a minor thing, but it actually changes, in my opinion, a lot of sort of the way Inhumanoids is sort of looked at. Not that a lot of us are looking at it. Like, it's a pretty obscure toy line, all things considered. But it looks a lot different when you realize Hasbro basically wanted to make monster toys and basically have some figures, and had this basic concept, and the writers took it and built it and fleshed it out. And it's really interesting, and I like seeing sort of that collaboration between the toy companies and the people making the cartoons, because often it's sort of not presented that way. I mean, even like with Masters of the Universe, there's all this, oh, Filmation made up the Horde, and Mattel had nothing to do with it. And it's, when you sort of look at the dates on the sketches, it's sort of kind of 50-50, where it's like Mattel had character ideas, and Filmation sort of put it all together into the Horde, but like, the characters existed. The concept of a new faction existed. She-Ra existed before Filmation, so the way it's always been sort of presented is a lot different than the reality, where it's really sort of this collaborative effort. And to me, that's way more interesting than like Filmation made it all up, or you know, the writers from Marvel who worked on the Humanoids made it all up. Sort of the fact that it's creative people creating sculpts and the basic ideas, and then the writers taking it, and then the animators, like that. I don't know. I like that a lot better. I feel like that, especially with toys, because so much of toys for me when I was a kid, you know, it's like, yeah, there were sort of like the stories that they came with it. You know, most of the Barbie stories were these coloring books and sort of storybooks you would get. She never had a cartoon. But those were always just sort of like the sort of set the scene, but it's like the actual adventures were what you made up in your head. So for me, when it's a situation where you know, the toy company and the cartoon people or the comic book people, you know, where it's all sort of everyone is adding different parts to make it, it just, I like the way that feels a lot better. And it leaves more room for sort of the kids, i.e. us, when we were at that age, to sort of fill in those blanks. There you go. I think their skin is done. You will be fine. And also, I mean, excuse me, the only reason I'm good at this is I literally spend hours every week doing this. Like, if I wanted, I mean, like my average short is what, 30 seconds? And it takes 2 or 3 hours to film most of those. So I've been doing live stream coloring for like 1.5 years now. So if this is the first time in a while, it's not going to be perfect, but it's going to be fine. I'm not going to be bad at it. It's just not going to be perfect. And if you have enough fun doing it, maybe you'll do it more often. And if you don't completely hate the process next week, I will put you onto the list of people who want to come back and hang out again. So, I mean, Lawrence was not great the first time he came, and he's come a few times and done really well. Chris Bostic has been a couple times now and gets better every time. Same with Andrew from Gady's Toys. And it just takes a little practice. And if you're out of practice, it's not going to be great. You'll be fine. Don't worry about that. And I have a guest that's not about you being good. It's just us hanging out and talking. Me learning social skills to remember that I need to stop talking sometimes and let somebody else talk. And it's fun to hang out. So don't worry about being good or bad or whatever. Just worry about showing up and having a good time. My friend Muriel used to come on when she had a little time in her schedule, and she would purposely sort of mess stuff up. It was always fun, but she still did pretty good. But it was, you know, like that's the only person who's technically ever done that, and most of those were her basically trying to crack me up. So hopefully the stars will align and she'll get to rejoin me on one of these soonish. It's been over a year, but she is pretty busy. She's still living over in Europe, teaching English, living her best life. So, but where she is in Europe, it's like completely different time zone from us. And so, have a full-time job. I think they're engaged now. I need to double check and make sure I heard that correctly last time we talked. But, you know, engaged, full-time job, living her best life. There's not, you know, like, I miss getting to hang out with her and do more than message, but I also get it, so. Especially with that wicked time difference. I'm gonna put a little bit more red in Barbie's hair for this than I normally would. Just because it seems like fun. I'm going to use sand to sort of blend. Yeah, Andrew will definitely be here to do that. It's going to be fun. Like, I don't think I've ever had anyone come on here and hang out with me and not have a good time. Or if they have, they didn't tell me. And I can't imagine why you wouldn't want to tell me something like that. I'm completely approachable. I've only had like one guest that like I would never want to have back. It wasn't like they were bad or anything. It just, yeah, they weren't bad at the coloring or anything. It was just like it wasn't easy to have the conversation, and there was a lot of awkwardness. But not everyone is suited to a format like this. It's not even that they're a bad person or I didn't like them or whatever. It just, not everyone does. Somebody who doesn't really do any sort of live streaming stuff, so it's just not the type of content they make. So it had nothing to do with them or their lack of coloring. It was just, I should have thought about that more before I invited them on, because they don't make sort of live content. So I kind of feel bad. It was more like they were a deer in headlights, to be honest. But you live, you learn. And like Alanis Morissette used to say. One of Canada's best exports to the United States, Alanis Morissette. Although I think she lives in Canada again now. I think she went back. So. I spent way too much money in the 90s. You'll appreciate this, Andrew. I spent way too much money in the 90s to get an import version of one of her pop albums. And I totally appreciate on How I Met Your Mother, sort of how they took Tiffany and Alanis Morissette to create Robin Sprinkles. Because I have those Alanis pop CDs from Canada. There we are. Oh. It's really good. Yeah, definitely it's hard. Yeah, it's too bad about that, but hey, you know. I can see why. Yeah, I would definitely would. Right? Yeah, that would be cool. So this is my funny Alanis Morissette story. So she is married. I think she's still married. At one point in recent history, she married a guy, and apparently he's like a rapper or some such. It all comes back to rap. But for some reason, when I heard this, early days of the internet, right? It was like the 2000s. Or maybe like the 2010s or whatever. Somehow though, it would have had to be before 2011, because I was at my old job and I was telling somebody this and they laughed at me, as they should have. But somehow I got mixed up who she married, and I thought she had married Mos Def. And I said that, and they're like, that's not who she's married to. And then they laugh. It was like that scene in Pee-wee's Big Adventure where they're like, there's no basement in the Alamo. I've never felt so dumb in my whole life. And that's saying something, because you've all heard stories about my exes. But for some reason, I thought Alanis Morissette was married to Mos Def. And I told people that before I got corrected. And they were like, oh, wow, I didn't know that. And then somebody who knew better was like, there's no basement in the Alamo. I laugh, but I still cringe as well when I think about the fact that I probably spent 2 years thinking Alanis Morissette was married to Mos Def. So, there you go. That was the time where somebody actually me, and I actually had it coming. So, every so often, the actually people do hit them hard. Right, exactly. Well, that's the problem. People believed me, because why wouldn't they? And I'm usually so knowledgeable about stuff. So it's like, when I'm wrong, at least when I'm wrong, I'm really wrong, and I can admit it. Exactly, right? I don't know. It cracks me up. And it's one of those, I can laugh about it now, but I was mortified for at least a year. For like a year, if somebody even said Mos Def in conversation, like, you know, when they're like, instead of saying most definitely, they'd be like, oh yeah, let's do it. Most def. I would have to leave the room. I would go hide in the bathroom. Because then finally, like, my embarrassment ended, and I was able to appreciate the ridiculousness of thinking Mos Def was married to Alanis Morissette, and telling people that for like 2 years. So if Alanis ever decides she wants to beef with me like I beef with Moby, at least I would get it. It makes sense. Right. I know. Exactly. Oh, yeah, Ryan Reynolds. Oh my goodness. I gotta say that was but again, you'll probably appreciate this, Andrew. I remember watching Ryan Reynolds on this cheesy Canadian soap opera called 15 that we had here in the United States for a while on Nickelodeon. So when he sort of became popular, I'm like, oh my god, it's the dorky little brother from 15. But then of course he was attractive and he was older, and I was like, oh. So there you go. And then he married who was with Sandra Bullock. Was he with Sandra Bullock, or is this a Most Def situation? Anyway, Barbie is done. We've got 4 minutes until the end of the stream, so I'm not going to even be able to get to this G.I. Joe. But that's okay. We'll save it for another. I'll do another one of these in a few months when I get 2 or 3 more pages. But I finished all 3 of these, so that's pretty cool. And they're done, so you know, they're not gonna look at me every time I open the folder for my solo live streams and be like, "Hey, bitch, you gonna finish us or what?" So yeah. Anyway, so that's the stream. Let's see. I'm gonna look really quick and see what I've got coming up this week. Let's pretend like this has been typical YouTube professional job and not me humiliating myself again about the Most Def thing. Let's see. Huh. All right. All right, there we go. All right, so again, obviously there are always shorts happening. Tomorrow there's some Gem and the Holograms, and I've got some Ghostbusters coming up next week in the shorts. And next weekend there's going to be some G.I. Joe and Care Bears, which ties into next week's live stream with 3-star draw. Say that 4 times fast, Allison. And we're going to do Care Bears, G.I. Joe, and He-Man. So it's a trifecta of what I like doing on this channel. And we'll get to hang out. It was so bad. And Brooke, the villainess with her little haircut. I did have the hair. I didn't perm mine that way though, because tight curls. I look like little orphan Annie even back in the day. She moved to Austin when I lived in Austin, so I did some extra work on this congeniality. So, yeah. Here's the deal. There's that line, and You Ought to Know, where it's like, I don't want to think about the uncle from Full House. So. Anyway, my phone just died that the pictures are on, so probably time to wrap it up. But yeah, so anyway, next week, 3-star draw. Tomorrow, I've got a full-length video hitting that you should all watch. I'm doing a flip through of a Golden Girl coloring book, and of course, the coloring with it. So yeah, that's what's coming up. Thank you everyone for hanging out with me today. Muchly appreciated. And I will see you again in the next one, and probably in chats around today and tomorrow. So thanks again. Bye.